Uh-oh. YouTube. All right. Yes. Okay. So we are live.
Yes, welcome. How's it going?
This is the third premiere today for the SoldierNetwork.com. That's a record.
Mm.
And everything happens in threes. So this one, I don't know what it's going to be about. It just got originated 2 days ago. But it's going to be hosted by Ty Hudnall, Shamanic Adventure. And I just said to him, so what's your show going to be about? You're going to have people on, or what's going to go on? And he said, well, we're going to get to the interview part at the end. We're going to do the other stuff first. I said, what are we doing? And then he said something like this. You got to tell him.
So yeah, Shamanic Adventures is a show that is inviting you into the vibrational world. So I want to make it like a collage in a way, a collage of consciousness, a collage of this moment through visual art and also auditory expression. So we're about to go on a journey, and I don't really know what's going to happen, and that's exactly where I want to be, and that is the shamanic journey. And I'm super excited to share it with Todd tonight because he has no clue what I'm about to do. And I've given him no instructions, so it is a shamanic adventure. And I think that in this space, sometimes I may come on and talk about healing. I may come on and do different things. But what I'm discovering is that I'm really interested in reaching the audience through a different avenue because you guys have no attention span, and nor do I. So if we're going to get into the space of coherence with each other, I think creating art and letting the shared inspiration be this space where we all go on this shamanic adventure together.
Man, that's deep. That's very cool. Are you going to have people on every week?
Yeah, I want to have different guests and people to interpret their own, witnessing their own self. And that's what I would say, that you're my guest and you're my witness today. And whatever you witness and whatever gets expressed through that witness is kind of what we call the Nagual, orchestrating things, the spirit, the silent part within us, and the space. And I think that when we step into the vibrational world, our space and how we organize that space is unique to each individual. And showing up in the space of self, and I use that word a lot, and I may explore that a lot here, that when I say self, I mean the mystery within us, not the identification of the persona, but the thing that cannot be identified. And I think art will capture that. And so the intent is to inspire. The intent is to make space for receptivity. And I think that everything gets simplified in the shamanic world as we begin to receive and share. And recognize the folly of everything and recognize the ridiculousness of our own seriousness. And so I think that the Spirit opens up to us when we are in a state of playfulness, but really presence. And that's what I want to explore here. And I want to do it in weird ways. I want to make you uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable sometimes, and we might as well share some of that. And I want to make it harmonious, but also I want to make it part of the audience's experience. So adding your intent is literally part of this experience. And there's probably only a couple people. Oh, well, damn shit, there's 25 people watching this. Hello. So yeah, that's all I got. Any questions, Todd, before we just see what the fuck happens?
And I can't say shit after that. It was dope.
All right, well.
I feel like I'm getting on a roller coaster.
Well, I give you maybe what we'll do is open up the sacred space and let the spirits come in and give ourselves enough room to meet ourselves and to see what kind of art comes forward. So I'm going to put the videos on from now, and then we'll come back and talk about it, I guess, yeah?
Right on.
Cool. As we sit in the awareness of our own witness and the silent part of ourself is called forward into this time. Imagine we sit at the base of the mountain of the Spirit. Through the opening of the sacred directions, we call forward ourselves, calling the spirits of the East to be here with us in the form of the Spirit, the element of the Spirit embodied, calling forth the wisdom of the West. In the space of the grounded spirit, and the jaguar emerges from the jungle and emerges from the shadow. And the spirit of the sun, calling the sacred waters to reflect what is within, and to reflect what expands from the heart. In the spirit of the north, in the sacred mountain, we call the essence of creation into this space and time to witness us and the glory of creation that continues. To the ancestors of good character, come forward and share this space. To the sacred dream, awakening. To the book of life, opening. To the highest high self, traveling across the eons of space and time to be here now. We fly to the center of the south. We cling to the knowing that all that is within us expands from creation. We call divinity that lives within us forward to be witnessed in this now. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream. The sacred dream has begun. Receiving the sacred dream.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Hey,
something comes through the eyes. One. And you could call that one love, you could call it light, you could call it anything you want, it doesn't matter, it's just what you call it, but it is. One of the things you could call it is creativity. And that the one is really made up of an infinite number of itself, like holography. Just these tiny creative sparks, each one unique from each other one. And that these sparks are all sitting in harmony with one another as light. But the nature of a creative spark is that it must create. So some of these sparks choose to create by turning away from the light and thereby creating a shadow, which is the Plato cave image, and then getting involved with the shadow, which they call darkness. Now, under these conditions, you see that the Garden of Eden story is a story of choice, not a fall. Fall is the interpretation, but actually it's the choice of us to leave the Garden of Eden to go out to explore the darkness, which is the shadows created by our own minds, because it is God exploring itself through karma or through darkness. One. And you could call that one love, you could call it light, you could call it anything you want, it doesn't matter, it's just what you call it, but it is. One of the things you could call it is creativity. And that the one is really
made up of an infinite number of itself, like holography. Just these tiny creative sparks, each one unique from each other one. And that these sparks are all sitting in harmony with one another
as light. But the nature of a creative spark is that it must create. So
some of these sparks
choose to create by turning away from the light and thereby creating a shadow, which is the Plato cave image, and then getting involved with the shadow, which they call darkness. Now, under these conditions, you see that the Garden of Eden story is a story of choice, not a fall. Fall is the interpretation, but actually it's the choice of us to leave the Garden of Eden to go out to explore the darkness, which is the shadows created by our own minds, because it is God exploring itself through karma or through darkness.
consciousness that expands beneath the reality of our normal world and expanding the vibrational world to know that our feelings create, and that from the feelings we flow forward as the essence of ourself grows.
In other words, at that moment, you are not identified with being the actor. You're in the car but you're not the driver. I mean, you are the driver, but you're not busy driving. Don't talk to me, I'm driving. And actually, more accidents happen from people who are busy driving than people who are not busy driving, turns out. In other words, at that moment, you are not identified with being the actor.
You're in the car but you're not the driver.
driver, but you're not busy driving. Don't talk to me, I'm driving.
And actually, more accidents happen.
From people who are busy driving than people who are not busy driving. Turns out.
Separate from another soul, but they have a recognition of the shared consciousness. The shared consciousness.
The shared consciousness. The shared consciousness. The shared consciousness.
The shared consciousness.
Points to that is recognized by something in you when you look at it. It's nothing to do with the person whatsoever. And so what you sense is your own essential reality reflected back to you by somebody. Something comes through the eyes that points to that is recognized by something in you when you look at it. It's nothing to do with the person whatsoever. And so what you sense is your own essential reality reflected back to you
by somebody. Something comes through the eyes that points to that it is recognized by something in you when you look at it. It's nothing to do with the person whatsoever. And so what you sense is your own essential reality reflected back to you by somebody. Something comes through the eyes that points to that it is recognized by something in you when you look at it. It's nothing to do with the person whatsoever. And so what you sense is your own essential reality reflected back to you by somebody. Something comes through the eyes that points to that it is recognized by something in you when you look at it. It's nothing to do with the person whatsoever. And so what you sense is your own essential reality reflected back to you by somebody. Something comes through the eyes that points to that it is recognized by something in you when you look at it. It's nothing to do with the person whatsoever. And so what you sense is your own essential reality reflected back to you by somebody. Something comes through the eyes that points to that it is recognized by something.
Life and the essence of fulfillment, called into the now, witnessing the self in the presence of our own love, in the presence of what we receive, and as the light expands and flows to the consciousness of all. the moment the spirit reflects the peace that comes from facing death. In the moment the spirit reflects the witness of you in the vibrational world. You are the sound you create. You are the witness of your own self. There is nothing to blame outside of ourselves. Being responsible and being present, or the transparency of the new presence. Gifted in the ruthlessness of accepting the duality and the change that must come within ourselves. Inspiration expands in the breath, in the heart, and the harmonics of now. Frequency notation, frequency delegation in the organization of pure power, your capacity to be love. Frequency revelation, frequency notation, frequency delegation and the organization of pure power, your capacity to be love. Frequency revelation, frequency meditation, frequency delegation and the organization of pure power, your capacity to be love. Formula, your capacity to be
Well, anything you want, it doesn't matter. It's just what you call it. But it is. One of the things you can call it is creativity. And that the one is really made up of an infinite number of itself, like holography. Just these tiny creative sparks, each one unique from each other one. And that these sparks are all sitting in harmony with one another as light. But the nature of a creative spark is that it must create. So some of these sparks choose to create by turning away from the light and thereby creating a shadow, which is the Plato cave image, and then getting involved with the shadow, which they call darkness. Now, under these conditions, you see that the Garden of Eden story is a story of choice, not a fall. Fall is the interpretation, but actually it's the choice of us to leave the Garden of Eden, to go out to explore the darkness, which is the shadows created by our own minds, because it is God exploring itself through.
Your capacity to be.
Okay.
Dude.
I don't know if they got the point across or not.
Did you put some of those, I don't know what they were called, like binary beats, the ones that put you to sleep that you're not supposed to drive when you listen to them?
No, there was no binaural beats in there.
Okay. It was very cool. It was, if you locked into it, it was deep, because the when you said at the beginning, the vibrations, and then that started me, and then the whole thing started, and yeah, it's not, there's no words. It's the root of us. It's like primordial, like cosmically primordial. It's yeah, intense. Yeah, that definitely is powerful. Powerful. Definitely get some traction with that. There's no doubt.
Hmm.
And it will be interesting to see artists that latch onto it. That hear it and want to play with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a much broader spectrum, and I'm not in this incarnation a musical, accredited genius, but vibration's vibration. And then with the visuals, yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
People liked it.
it's kind of like how can we tell stories vibrationally in real time and move away from, maybe even move away from the entertainment aspect and more of the internal, the inner expression of it, like, it's kind of like creating it makes you real present too. And it's like, it's you have no idea where it's going to go. And, I wanted to record some different quotes and stuff, and that got really weird. And so I just, randomly grabbed some things and, so.
Yeah, I like what you said about, like getting away from the entertainment thing. That's pretty deep too, because, this is a space that's including everything, inviting everything. And I think it's like deep in our memory banks. I mean, the potential of it is, you're talking about how they moved the blocks on the pyramids, things like that.
Yeah, I think that being aware of our vibrational reality just as real as our material reality, and creating from it, because, I often ask people where inspiration comes from,
Uh-huh.
and I'm pretty sure it comes right out of thin air, It's not tangible like anything. It's vibrational, and but it's palpable though, it's everything that we want in life. It's the fulfillment, the love, all those things that we can't quantitate into the material world. In the vibrational world, they're always present.
Mm-hmm.
It's our ability to receive it, I think, and if we can create experiences that are about receptivity, then I think that we get our point across. That healing is about organizing our receptivity and recognizing our disorganization and our rejection of things and our depletion of ourselves from things.
Man, you're on fire. The whole thing was like just a big, I don't know how to explain it, like coming out or something. It was powerful.
Well, it's kind of like we can ask any question here. We can pose any question to the soul. We can pose any question about life. We can not just pose the question, but explore it like it's a giant piece of Swiss cheese that we can go in and out of and run around like little kids in or something,
Right on. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the great part of it is, I was thinking about that while you were doing this, or I was experiencing this. Um, that that part where you're there, it's happening. You don't know what's going to happen, and you just go all the way with it. And each time you do, you can go a little bit further, and you're a little more confident. I've noticed it in the stuff that we do the last year, and I can feel these moments coming on in myself and you and other, when things happen, and people are going in 100%, like 100% with in that moment, and just saying "fuck it," you know, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I was watching what we did yesterday, and there was some really cool things that happened in there.
Hmm.
Some really cool messages that came through, and you know, yeah, there's this beautiful space where you don't plan anything, um, and you get real vulnerable,
Yeah.
and and I think it should come from like your everyday life and the stuff that's vulnerable and the stuff you're working with and the stuff that you're having problems with. Um, I find when we do the other music, working out our weekly shit happens every Monday.
Is it that way for you too? I didn't know that.
Sure, 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 sure. My Virgo moon makes it seem like I don't have feelings sometimes. They're just harder to read. Um, you know,
I think I have a Virgo moon, dude.
well, do you? Huh, I have to
I
check
think
that out.
so.
Hmm.
I think so. I'm almost positive.
Nice.
What's the three?
The qualities
The
of
sign?
that would be analytical, critical, and picky, and you can
Oh no,
come
I don't know
off
about
cold and detached emotionally.
that. I don't know about that.
But the Virgo moon is the shamanic moon of self-nurturing, and that's what I kind of think this experience and Shamanic Adventures, how do we self-nurture ourselves? So, like, for example, a future program, we could just um, have a collective intent of facing fear, and all the content arises from the awareness that love is the true root of security, for example, and that the fear of poverty can be overcome, and as we come together and create a collective coherent field in that, which actually comes through tension. Coherence doesn't come through harmony. It comes through tension. The geometry of coherence, I think as we start building communities, when we have tension with each other, that's where all the growth really happens. And that's how we get a lot more coherent. But there's some interesting things in the world where we think it should be too easy or it's not easy enough. But getting uncomfortable in a consistent basis is something that's interesting.
I think it's. I don't think there's any choice in the matter at this point. This must be the quickening or the apocalypse or the whatever you want to call it.
Well, I have to say that, like, one of my friends came into town and his collage style of stuff, and we did some stuff together that really inspired me to kind of branch out and use other mediums to enact the consciousness. And so I think with music and the whole DJ reality and being able to sample stuff and sample ourselves, I think that there's something really, it kind of really, it gets to you when someone else is speaking or when that other voice comes in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I heard this dude in New York, Nicholas Jar, Jar, DJ, like 10, 12 years ago, and he did some really cool stuff. And this reminds, well, this is 12 years later, whatever, but with the intention of a message, and that message goes beyond, like you said earlier, like entertainment. It's it's like I don't know if there's a word, but like ritual feeling to it, ceremonial, like deepest part of the soul, like the seat of the soul or something.
Mm.
It's like going to the well. How deep can we go? No one's ever been to the bottom.
Yes.
but we are the bottom. We're the bottom and the top.
The mystery. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to come on and explore this space and get real vulnerable, I'm open to that. I'm definitely going to bring some artists on. And some of the artists I want to bring on kind of push the cultural norms a little bit. And I am really interested in that. Okay. Because if we're going to take ourselves too seriously, then I don't even know why we're really doing all of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Man, I knew without censorship we'd have some hellraisers on here, but I didn't know you were going to be the number one.
I got some friends that make me look tame, okay? Make me look real tame. And I really like it because what I really, with very creative people and people that are super imaginative and will go to these places that we're afraid to go to because we're not our inner child telling the story anymore. Like we did this thing in the studio at 4 a.m, and my friend did this whole thing about, thinking that he should change his whole life and become a goji farmer. And he went through this whole deal of goji and where he gets his gojis, and then I made up this song called the OG Goji in Farmer. It's 4 a.m. and we're delirious, so I'm looking for space like that and art too. And if there's any visual artists out there that want to take some of their art and us take a theme and tell a story to it, or come on and tell a story over your own art, I think that sounds really fun too.
Wow. So it's really just multiplistic. I mean, it's wide open.
Yeah, it's kind of like I can't teach anything, there's no teaching it. So the presence offers it in such a way that we meet in this equal space. And, most people that are watching this, that are still watching it, of course, because nobody has an attention span, you guys are the people that are out there developing yourselves. And that's the only thing that keeps you watching the interviews.
Well, you started with 25 and there's still 25.
Wow. Well, I got 31 on this one.
Oh, well, I only got it on 2 platforms. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think that if we start getting playful and creative and start making art, there is this revolution coming for all of us. And the old way of living and, man, just that day-to-day bullshit, I think we're all ready to be inspired. And if we can inspire each other, then we don't fall for the traps that the mainstream is trying to inspire us by, which kind of seem like they're trying to imprison us in. But that is the way of the dialogue itself, is to imprison us in ourselves. And it becomes very afraid of us being present and creative and playful. So, but it takes courage, and, it needs to be imperfect. It needs to have things. It needs to push the edges of us and expand the awareness of ourselves is like the most valuable piece of commodity that we share with each other, I think. And it's the only reason I think the internet works like this or has any validity, because otherwise I could do without it.
Dude. Excellent premiere. I had no idea did you know that you were going to do anything like this? Or I should say, when did you know?
I knew this morning.
Cool.
Yeah, I knew this morning, and so I worked on some different things and pulled some images together, and yeah, and then it's like doing the other music in a way, and I think that there's lots of different places to go. I'm going to rebirth the Galactic Gorilla. There's some galactic transmissions.
You need to bring in the wizard.
We can bring in a wizard, not a problem.
Bring in the wizard,
I got a statue of Merlin across the street I'm going to film in AI. So, but yeah, we'll bring in the wizard, and yeah, so every week I probably will post what the input is. And if people want to send me stuff during the week, like, YouTubes that they love of spiritual content, like you heard tonight, people talking about stuff. I believe you heard Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle tonight. And hard to tell that's who they are because they're going to come through as robot voices and shit like that. So, but yeah, I definitely love the input. And again, any visual artist out there that want to create in this way, I think that that could be a lot of fun. And I do have some visual artists in mind I want to bring on, and we are going to write music for their art and kind of with their instructions too. So, if it's a cafe scene with monsters, we're going to write something that, fits that, or, mess around until something actually comes through. And, but yeah, I think getting vibrational, it really connects us in real time. So I just can't, I can only say it so many times, I guess, I just feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again.
Oh, man. You're spot on. Yeah, you're spot on, man. I'm glad that I was here for the first one. I'll be watching it.
Awesome. And next time when you're a guest, you can kind of lead the content. So if you have something you want to bring forward, we'll design things, and tell an adventure,
That sounds
visually and audibly. So, we talked about this before, but I think making the space to do it and opening up it wide where there's no restrictions, and we can, it could be me on here talking shit for an hour, or we get on and do some crazy stuff. And you may never see a person ever again on this show, and only art and words. But who knows? Who knows what it'll be? So, to be arranged.
It's real-time Akashic.
But thanks for putting everything together, man. And I'm super excited to get more on the network, and I'm super excited to get this app out. And I got some friends that are interested in coming on and doing their art. And the app has kind of been that thing I've been waiting on to pull them in because, they have their own audience. And, collaborating, I think, is going to be one of the funnest, entertaining things because we've already proven we can collaborate across the whole world right here. We've done it on the Solar G network multiple times.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Right.
Yeah, man, I'm digging it. All right, man, what a day. What a day. Very good day. Time to chill.
All right,
with the universal chill pill.
Thanks, Todd.
Appreciate it, brother.
Man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you, everybody.
Right on.
And see you next week.